The Rick and Bubba Show, weekdays, noon till 2 on WGNS.
Rick and Bubba, Rick and Bubba.
The Good Neighbor Network, FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna, and online at WGNSradio.com. This is the Roundtable. A look at the news, views, politics, and people that are shaping Rutherford County.
Good morning. This is Bill Kraus on the WGNS Roundtable on Thursday. A very happy Washington's birthday. I'm from the old school. There we had two holidays off when we were in school. Lincoln's birthday on the 12th and Washington's on the 22nd. For some reason, they all got consolidated and tossed into a 45 President's Day honor. But speaking of honoring, we have a very, very special event and occasion this morning. Honoring law enforcement in Rutherford County. And certainly these are the men and women that are the unsung heroes in our communities. And we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to have Murfreesboro's chief for the last 7 years, Chief Bowen, who's going to welcome on behalf of Rutherford County a recently appointed chief of police in La Vergne, Chief Moews, who comes from the state of Wisconsin. So, Chief Bowen, do you want to do an official welcome to Chief Moews?
Absolutely. Welcome to Middle Tennessee and your new position at La Vergne. And fortunately, we've had the opportunity to talk on a couple of occasions, and just know that at MPD we're open to help you in any way, and just enjoy the partnerships in Rutherford County. It's kind of a unique county because we do have close relationships amongst the cities and with the county sheriff, and it's really paid dividends in our approach to law enforcement issues.
Let's get to know you, Chief. Tell us where you were born and your professional, educational world, and how different is Wisconsin from Middle Tennessee?
Well, I was born in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and spent my entire life there until relocating here. I had a little bit of a different path to law enforcement, where when I entered college, I was a part of the undergraduate college seminary program, and I discerned a vocation to priesthood. So I had a very strong attraction to service.
Now that, I have to interrupt, now that is a different foundation for a police professional. Wow, I'm impressed.
Yeah, a lot of people don't see the correlation, but
I do.
Yeah, I just was drawn to service. So, but after 2 years, I'm Catholic, and they have the rule of celibacy, and I wanted to get married, and so I left the seminary. I pursued a criminal justice degree at the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee, and then from there, I met my wife while attending classes. She is currently a law enforcement officer, still back in Wisconsin, and will be retiring at the end of this month, so she can join me down here.
Great.
But so I got hired by the Milwaukee Police Department. I worked for a couple of smaller suburban departments and a college department prior to that. But spent 27 plus years with the city of Milwaukee.
Wow.
And I rose through the ranks. I was an officer in a very diverse district, and then I did some time in our narcotics unit, was promoted to detective, remained in the narcotics unit, went over to the General Bureau where I investigated everything from burglaries to homicides, and then was promoted to lieutenant and oversaw several different divisions. We went through a lot of transition when we had Chief Flynn, Edward Flynn, come in from the East Coast, and helped with that transition process, and then eventually made the rank of captain, where I was the night watch commander overseeing all city operations from the time the chief left work to the time he returned in the morning, and then I was given the opportunity to go back to day shift and command our violent crimes division, which is where I retired from.
What's interesting is there is a similarity between the priesthood and police. You both see confessions.
That's true. That's true.
I can't resist that, but it ties both. Chief Bowen, if you were welcoming, as you did, our newest chief in the Rutherford County law enforcement world, what things would you say are so special about Rutherford County? And you started out as a police officer, too, in Murfreesboro.
Right. Man, it's just Middle Tennessee, this area that we're in right now, it's just an awesome place. I hate using the word awesome. That's so 80s, but that's what I'm going back to.
It's great, very descriptive.
And I look back. I started in 1988 here, and yeah, the city's grown by leaps and bounds, but there's still a lot of small town feel. There's still a lot of that connection amongst the community and a willingness to reach out, solve problems on together, and just really a collaborative effort between law enforcement and the community, and make sure we have a great place to live. And it's just the support. We have people that are not very supportive of law enforcement, but overall, the support from this community it's overwhelming. And we have people from other agencies come in from other states, and they talk about, wow, the support here is just so different. So we're blessed in so many ways to have that here.
And first impressions, Chief Mays, in La Vergne and Rutherford County. Had you been to Middle Tennessee before? Had you had association or relationships or friendships in this area, or was this a brand new territory?
A little bit of both. We love Tennessee. Our family would vacation here quite often, coming down to Fairfield Glade, spending some time on the Cumberland Plateau. And but I drove through here quite often on our trips to Florida and such, and we would stay in the Nashville area on occasion. But La Vergne was really something new to me, and the whole Rutherford community here, county community, has been incredible since my arrival. The amount of support that we have in La Vergne specifically and throughout Rutherford County, but not only my governmental partners within La Vergne, but the citizens have been incredible. They've been welcoming and really came to our aid when we had our 2 officers shot back in late October. And but beyond that, the opportunity to meet with all the various chiefs and command staff from the different departments, Murfreesboro being one of them. Just had lunch yesterday with the sheriff and his deputy chief of the sheriff's department there. So it's those conversations that we're having, those relationships that we're building, and everybody's willingness to work together that I'm really impressed with. And I think it is something that we can always build upon and improve, but from what I see here, it's an incredible network. It's very solid, and we have a great foundation.
I do want to do a shout out to your mayor, Jason Cole, who I understand is from the increasing amount of COVID-19. I mean, this is getting concerning. I have a number of students who are affected by it, and it looks like a new wave. But our best wishes out to your mayor, and hope that it's an immediate, quick, and total recovery.
Yeah, he said he was a little under the weather, but he sounded pretty good yesterday on the phone.
Well, the last time the two of you were supposed to be here, something stopped you. It was called a snowstorm.
Right.
And he had 7 inches of snow in his driveway, and he said, I can't get out of the driveway. Well, that's a good reason. Weather has a good reason at all. This is a very rapidly growing area. Rutherford County, one of the fastest growing. Murfreesboro and La Vergne both showed significant increases in population in the 2020 census and continue to grow. What are some of the law enforcement growth challenges? Is it just traffic? Is it just more bad people are coming through? Is it just that people are less friendly with each other? Do you see that growth may bring some negatives as well as certainly bringing some positives?
Well, having not been here for very long, one thing that I am greatly aware of already is the traffic, the increase in traffic and the infrastructure that needs to grow along with the population growth here. My experience with the people throughout Rutherford County has been very gracious, very welcoming, very warm. So I'm enjoying every moment of it here. The challenges that we face, obviously, with the growth in population, our department needs to grow. And
Sure.
We're finding challenges, I think, everywhere across the board in law enforcement in terms of our recruiting efforts and our hiring. We are not compromising our standards in the city of La Vergne, and therefore we're washing out a lot of our hopeful candidates, and it's unfortunate. I'd like to see people come into the profession and thrive and grow in law enforcement, but we need the right kind of people, and we got to make sure that we are maintaining our standards so we don't have incidents occur that can be avoided.
The last time Mayor Cole was on the air with us, he was talking about a proposed community of over 6,000 residents coming into La Vergne off Burkett, west of the 24. The growth, in fact, we even had the county school director talking about the serious potential of how they're going to be able to accommodate school facilities just because they're bonded extensively. So there's a growth that's going to come welcoming you in the next 2 to 3 years of 6,000 new homes, not residents, 6,000 new homes in that area of Burkett, just west of the 24. Speaking of recruiting, what would the two chiefs say to a young man or young woman, or I always like to say in this program, to a grandparent who has a significant influence on a grandchild, of why becoming a law enforcement officer and what is the true value of life being able to serve in this capacity?
Wow, I tell you, I look back on my career and the careers of others that I've come up through the ranks with, and it's not cliche. You truly every day have the opportunity to impact somebody's life in a positive way, and to hear stories or to be approached by an individual years after you made contact with them and say, hey man, I appreciate you talking to me that night or whatever happened, and it changed my life. I started doing this, started doing that. And then I hear that about some of my staff. I've done interviews before where somebody's interviewed with us and they're like, officer such and such met me one night, did this and changed my direction in life, and now I want to be a police officer. So if you want to go out and truly make an impact every day in somebody's life, you can do it through law enforcement. There's challenges. It's scheduled work. We're open 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. So there's some sacrifices. But if you got that servant heart and that servant mentality, it's the right career for you.
It's almost like priesthood in some respect. Going to get more and more comparative in terms of your serving other people. And you're not only serving an individual. When you begin to think of how that expands into serving family,
right?
A parent, a grandparent, a sibling, etc. So, it's like dropping the pebble in the pond, and the ripple effect is going to dramatically increase.
Yeah.
Can you particularly think of, both chiefs and your police experience, of certain incidents and episodes that were very rewarding to you that come back to memory? Of a particular case you saw, you helped a young man or a young lady, and as you were saying, Chief, 20 years later, you ran into them. I just, this last weekend, did a memorial service for my brother who passed away last month. And he had been a college teacher for 60 years at a community college in Southern California. And the amount of people that showed up that were students of his 20, 30, 40 years ago, I don't know if I would go to a service of a teacher. I had a lot of favorite teachers in college, but those men and women that came back, 3 generations of students who had him as a teacher. And, I would probably show as an analogy the commitment and dedication of men and women that go into education, go into influencing and helping and supporting the lives of others, very, very similar to the men and women that are not only fighting crime, not only responding to crime, but serving as examples and serving as positive role models for young people. Do you have a lot of reach out to young people in terms in the schools, both in Murfreesboro and La Vergne? Is there a lot of reach out?
Well, we recently had some officers help out at La Vergne High School. There were some students, the instructor that's in charge of their criminal justice program asked our officers to come out and talk to some of the students. And they found it very rewarding, and we're hoping to influence that next generation that comes up. If there are people, young people that are interested in this profession and have that servant's heart, I mean, that's important. And that's the philosophy, the management philosophy I've been pushing at La Vergne is servant leadership. We want to definitely foster that from an early age and make sure that they're on the right path to attaining their goals in law enforcement, because it's those young people, and those are the times that I have felt the most fulfilling in my career, is when I've impacted a young person and changed their path in life so that they can contribute to society rather than
What's
being
some of the
it.
criteria that you specifically look at a candidate for going into police service? Is there more than just the fact of meeting physical requirements or mental abilities and so forth? What kind of human being do you look for? Is there a certain human nature that you look for in a candidate?
Well, I think we're not looking for one type of candidate. We're looking for a very diverse group of candidates. You may have somebody who's coming out of the military who's very tactical and is proficient, with training and things of that nature, and they're a great asset for us to bring in and mentor and have them come up through the training ranks or be an instructor with some of our tactics. But then we also are looking for officers who have the potential of wanting to go into the schools and be very in tune with the community and reach out. And just have that personal connection. So evidence, all the different law enforcement is so unique in that there's so many different facets of it that you can specialize in, that we have the great opportunity to not only just look for one type of person, but really evaluate somebody and see how they would fit in the organization. But the key for me is their ethics. And making sure that we are finding somebody who is has a strong moral compass and is ethical and has a history of making solid decisions. That's important.
Well, I always remember my first job as city manager many, many years ago in California, and one of my first tasks was appointing a new chief of police. And I've always felt that promotion from within is significant, and there was a captain in that department, young man. And I always remember I had no reservations recommending him for appointment because he had the heart for the victim and the head for the suspect. And I always thought that combination, he could certainly, tactical, as you said, Chief, he certainly could respond to a criminal situation, but equally he would have the heart for the victim or the victim's family and so forth. And that combination of being able to be a professional on the one hand and a man or woman with humanism on the other was the ideal, and it proved to be certainly well within that expectation.
I like that. I'm going to steal that if you don't mind.
You may. And no cost to that.
Okay.
Do we see more violence in terms of behavior? Where was it that I just see recently? It's in Murfreesboro, the TikTok. The county schools have joined a lawsuit to make access for kids to, was it TikTok or was it one of the internet systems?
I don't know that I'm familiar with that.
Yes, I think I just read that recently, and joining a lawsuit throughout the country to put limits on the ability of kids to be involved. I have to admit to you that my favorite TV show, believe it or not, and my wife and I watch it religiously, is Blue Bloods. And I think Blue Bloods just, certainly reflects the spiritual side as well as the professional side, as well as the humor side, as well as two different profiles of police officers between the two sons, between Danny and between Jamie, etc. And you begin to see, I think that should be mandatory for everybody to watch.
Yeah.
I think they've done a great job. We'll be right back in a moment or so. We're having a really nice conversation and visit with two chiefs of police here in Rutherford County, Chief Bowen of Murfreesboro and Chief Mays, newly appointed in La Vergne, and we'll be right back.
This is Stan Vaught. I'm a lot like you, a husband, father, farmer, auctioneer, and community supporter. I'm now a candidate for school board. In the last cases, Walter Hill, Milton, Leanna, Oakland, and Siegel communities. I believe in community schools, vocational education, and getting education back to the basics. I'd appreciate your support for school board.
Early voting going on now. Election day is March 5th. Paid for by Stan Vaught for school board. Stan Vaught, treasurer.
Finding that missing shin guard. Remembering whether it's a home or away game. Getting the right kid to the right playing field on the right day. Why are simple things sometimes so complicated? Thankfully, with auto owners, insurance doesn't have to be one of them. We work with independent agents who keep insurance simple so you can worry about more important things. Like not being that fan. Oh, come on, Ref! That's simple human sense.
Rayburn Insurance in Smyrna.
Come see me, Rick Hall, at Rayburn Insurance in downtown Smyrna today.
Hey fellas, if you've been feeling tired and grumpy and have noticed a lack of motivation and drive, you may have low T. Low testosterone levels can cause weight gain, loss of muscle mass, and so much more. I recommend Low T Center, which is where I get my levels tested. They make it quick and easy to get your levels checked, and it's only $25. And with their on-site lab, you'll get your results back in about 25 minutes. Most insurance is accepted for treatment. Go to lowtcenter.com now to book your appointment online. Low T Center, reinventing men's healthcare.
Landfills are complex, dynamic, and ever-evolving environments. Our operators start from the ground up. Middle Point is a modern facility constructed with a highly engineered liner system that meets every safety and regulatory standard in the book. We're the subject of multiple at-random inspections, have active air quality, groundwater, stormwater, and solid waste permits, and are compliant with all local, state, and federal regulations. Learn more at middlepointlandfill.com. For public services, we are sustainability in action.
It's a Slick Pig barbecue, spicy wings and Brunswick stew, everything made fresh for you at the Slick Pig barbecue. There's lean smoked turkey and chicken too, ribs so tender don't need to chew. Well, come on folks, I'm telling you, it's a Slick Pig barbecue. In 1920 East Main, you're gonna love the pig.
The Slick Pig barbecue, a Murfreesboro tradition.
This is Good Neighbor Events with Bart Walker. Brought to you by the law offices of John Day and AmeriCare Pest Control.
This is a paid legal ad.
You've probably heard it a million times. If you're injured, call a lawyer. And you probably haven't because you don't know how much it will cost, how long it will take, or even if you have a case. At the law offices of John Day, we provide a free initial consultation because we understand that folks don't want to pay a lawyer only to find out they don't have a case. If you think we can help, we do so on a contingency basis, which means we only get paid if you do. Seriously injured? Call me, John Day.
WGNS reminds you to take advantage of early voting. It's going on right now through February the 27th. That's next week, so get out and early vote. Volunteer Saturday is this Saturday morning at Greenhouse Ministries. It's to thank the volunteers. And if you're one of the Greenhouse volunteers, get with Regina Anderson and let her know that you're going to be there Saturday morning so they'll have enough free pancakes ready for you. Thank you to all the Greenhouse volunteers. We're critically low on blood, so please give the gift of life. The Murfreesboro Red Cross is at 501 Memorial Boulevard. Call them and make an appointment to give blood at a time that fits your schedule. Phone 800-RED-CROSS. The Rutherford Foundation Society Gala is this Saturday evening at MTSU. And we just wanted to say thank you to the Rutherford Foundation Society for all that you do to make this community even better. For more Good Neighbor events, check our website, WGNSradio.com.
Good Neighbor weather. Few scattered showers and storms at times here this afternoon with cloudy skies, a high in the mid-60s. Tonight, chance for rain and storms, cloudy, a low near 45. I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki on News Radio WGNS.
Currently, it's 56. WGNS is powered by Middle Tennessee Electric. United Communications, MTE's internet company, is growing fast and will continue to expand on its more than 3,600 route miles of fiber, covering portions of Rutherford and surrounding counties with 99.99% reliability.
This is the Roundtable from News Radio WGNS on FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna, and worldwide at WGNSradio.com.
Hello again, Bill Kraus on the WGNS Roundtable on a beautiful Thursday morning and having a wonderful visit. I wish I could have had cups of coffee for you. Might have been enjoying a good cup of coffee or a cup of tea. We have not one but two chiefs in the studio with us. Chief Bowen, who is our wonderful chief in Murfreesboro and has certainly been a leader and an advocate of a safe and sound community, and a new appointed chief, Chief of La Vergne, from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, born and raised and worked his life in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Chief Moews. And we're talking about law enforcement in Rutherford County, people and technology. Let's talk technology and how police work, like everything else, has been so dramatically changed. I do recall, this has got to be 40 years ago, when I was teaching in Southern California. I was city manager during the daytime and teaching at night. And a lot of my students were law enforcement officers with LAPD, LA County Sheriff. But I had a whole contingent from the Beverly Hills Police Department. And Beverly Hills is a very hilly community. And I never will forget that the rank and file, and I probably had 10, 12 officers and leadership from Beverly Hills Police, and they were complaining on the fact that the city put in their police cars little monitors to see how fast they drove up and down the hills and their speed. And they were regulating their speed control based upon the instrumentation that were in the police cars. And they did not like to be, quote, controlled of the police up and down, fast acceleration, fast deacceleration. So talk about technology. I know, Chief Bowen, we began to cover this when you were here last September, but talk about technology and how it works. Of course, today with an AT&T issue affecting a lot of people, we sometimes know that technology is not always perfect.
No, it's not. And you kind of touched earlier on the subject of recruiting, retention. So not all cities in the U.S. are faced with this, the issue that we see in Middle Tennessee. Not only has it been a tough time to hire for law enforcement, cities in Middle Tennessee have to also face the issue of the growth. So we have to expand and retain. So that's a if we were just combating turnover, we'd be in good shape. But then we have to look at growing our agencies to meet the needs of the growth in Middle Tennessee. So that's a big challenge. So when we look at that, we also look at ways to provide our staff with tools and resources that make them more efficient. So if we've got fewer people working and we can get them resources, technology, things to help make their jobs easier to where they don't have to spend as much investigative time doing certain things because we have technology in place to provide them that information quickly, then that's a big win for us. So I think the last time I was here was last fall. We kind of talked, and I've talked about it in other venues as well, about the real-time crime center that's going that we're putting in place. And basically we're going to be incorporating the LPR technology. We're going to be incorporating shot detection technology and LPR technology.
You want to try to define that for me as a non-techie?
Yeah. So the license plate reader technology is what you see in place.
Installed at corners.
We've got those in place, and basically those aren't personal information collectors. They don't collect people's personal information. They collect the vehicle tag numbers and things like that. So it's not something where we get information on individuals. And in our particular case, by law, we're allowed to keep it up to 90 days. And in our particular case, we're only keeping it for 30 days. We feel that if we need it, 30 days is enough retention time for that. Yeah. So we have the first component of that in place. And what you'll see is those particular cameras are placed on non-state routes. They're placed on, I call them municipal routes. I'm sure I'm getting the term wrong, but they're not on state routes. We have 40-something of those cameras in place now up and running. But we have also applied for grant funding through Governor Lee's Violent Crimes Grant to add additional LPR systems in the city. And the caveat with that particular grant is they have to go on state routes. So it'll perfectly complement what we're doing now and be able to put them on interchanges and state routes. One of the things that has been going up, one of the other components is the public safety camera systems, which are just cameras that are posted in various parts of the city. And our initial set of cameras is based on violent crime data. And I've already been getting questions about them, so that tells me the vendors are putting those up right now. Sure. And basically those are just record video. We've got some pretty strict policies. In fact, when we go back to LPR, we have, you go to our website, there's frequently asked questions, and there's our policy, and there's a short video to kind of explain what we're doing. And I'm always open to answer any questions anybody might have, so feel free to call the office if you have questions and concerns, and that has happened. The public safety camera systems are going up. There again, it's strategically placed based on violent crime data, this first set, and then we recently had approved the shot detection technology, and we have about 5 square miles that we'd like to cover. That we have a high incident of shots fired rates that we would like to place those. So those will be probably in place over here over the next couple months. So it's good stuff because it gives our one of the most frustrating things is to have a crime and then have your detectives have to go knock on doors to a very convenience store, apartment complex, trying to get video or trying to get some kind of information where we can have our own systems to capture that for us and it'll be accessible immediately. So,
what did you find in La Vergne when you came, Chief, in terms of the technology advantages?
Well, we also have the LPRs, and that's the technology that helped us find the stolen car that resulted in our 2 officers getting shot in the line of duty. But so we have those throughout the city. We also have our squad cameras that are that have been up and rolling for some time. But right now we are in the process of rolling out our body-worn cameras so that we can have that as well. And we're always looking to improve things within the department. Right now, we're looking at vendors for evidence management system and things of that nature because we want to make sure that we're doing things both externally and internally appropriately.
You know, I always think, and I'm not recommending this because I had pluses and minuses to it. The last city that I managed in Southern California was a rather large city in L.A. County, Norwalk, with about 100,000 people. But this was a city among 40 of the 80 cities in L.A. County that did not maintain its own police department. It contracted with the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department. And one of the contract services was a helicopter. And the police were very much in favor of having the helicopter on patrol, helicopter on response, helicopter on background, saying that one helicopter did the task of 3 police vehicles in terms of inspection. But I can tell you the amount of complaints I had when people would hear in the middle of the night, pop, 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 as that copter was going over the property. Would you be in favor of a helicopter service in your cities?
Well, I think in La Vergne we don't need one full-time, obviously. But when it came down to our critical incident, we had several helicopters in the area. We had drones. We had the response from law enforcement from across the area, and not just Rutherford County, Davidson County, Rutherford County, the outlying counties, it was amazing. And the technology that they brought that we don't have. One of my detectives, Detective Kraus, has actually proposed a drone program that I have to review and look at. But I think having a helicopter accessible under those most extreme circumstances is important. It's an important resource for us to have. But La Vergne, I don't feel needs one.
That might be an interesting joint powers situation with the county contracting with respective cities. I'm not advocating, of course not.
Right.
But I'm saying overall the results from having the aerial look both for police and fire. You had a fire going on, a significant one, on the air looking. You mentioned drones, and you just captured my attention. Tell me the role of drones in police service today.
Well, drones can be used for various different functions. A search type of function, search and rescue, but it also can be used rather than sending in a dog or a tactical team into a house. You can send a drone in first. There are different size drones that have different types of uses, and so I think it can be used for a myriad of different functions to keep our officers safe and also to keep the people that we're having contact with safe.
Before we go too far, Chief Bowen, would you introduce your sidekick? I'll call him the sidekick. And when we're done, Chief Mays, would you introduce your associate who's with us? I think we should at least acknowledge our guests.
Sure.
Well, you first.
Well, I have with me here today my executive assistant, Amber Dixon. So she is the person that keeps me on point on a daily basis.
And of course, Captain Clayton Williams, who is now in the uniform division, recently promoted, doing a great job for us.
I think you were just being promoted.
Yes,
Have
he was
been
just
about
promoted.
that time.
Yeah, shortly after.
About a month.
Yes.
So yeah, interesting. You brought up helicopters. My communications director is a helicopter pilot, and every budget here he tells me, "Hey, we need a helicopter." And
I
I'm
think
like,
a joint powers interest by the county and the respective cities would be an interesting joint powers.
I know they're a huge maintenance cost, and I think every time we
and a liability cost.
Yeah. But I know we've got some great partnerships with agencies, THP, places like that. That if you were ever in dire need of something, a resource like that, they would help you out. So we're lucky in that aspect. But just going back to drone technology, you touched on all things, and I know on some of our Clayton used to be pretty involved in traffic investigations, and I know the drone technology is on our accident scenes recent. So
some of the things that were drones to us in the law enforcement capacity it's still relatively new, at least in our area. So we're still kind of finding new ideas and ways to use that, but we just have to be real careful to manage the privacy needs versus security needs. We want to be respectful of that in anything that we do. But as Chief mentioned, in some of our crash investigations, we have the ability to photograph and video. I think the term they used to use in that when I was in that business was photogrammetry, as far as putting things back together and measuring how everything goes, and saves a lot of time and leg hours from individuals. But just having that kind of viewpoint, it also we just recently started discussing ways that maybe we can use that kind of technology to assist us with enforcing traffic violations, say at very cluttered intersections, operating in the public right of way, not over traffic, but maybe looking at ways that, for example, if you've ever driven through like Thompson Lane and Old Fort Parkway, very, very wide section of roadway, a lot of cars, but maybe we can, for those would-be red light runners or, failure to yield type incidents, maybe we can use that to help bolster our staffing and have an impact on some of those would-be violators. So I don't know where it's going to, long term, but they're definitely something that we're embracing and trying to fully utilize.
And that would not be automated enforcement like with the red light cameras. You'd actually have officers at those intersections still doing the enforcement, but they're just using that as a used to, we'd have a car sit at the intersection, they'd record, and it's just hard to do now. You can't do it nowadays. It's really a safety issue too, with the density of some of this traffic, getting officers out there. But we still have to enforce these intersections, so that's one way of looking at it. And the technology I talked about previously, and Clayton kind of touched on it just then, is the privacy. Hey, we're very in tune with the privacy concerns, and we want to make sure that we're using this, being good stewards of this technology. So we're making sure that we have good policies in place. We're limiting access to all these systems. It's not every officer does not have access to these systems, and we're really trying to be sensitive to those concerns.
I always like to, when I have law enforcement here, and I think it's so important, both of you, if you could talk about how should people better prepare for their safety? How should they protect? I, for one, for example, keep outdoor lights on all night. Certainly it costs a little more electricity. Perhaps people who say you got to save on electricity. I think a well-lit neighborhood, well-lit home 24/7 makes sense. So what are some of the things, how many people when they drive from time to time look in the rearview mirror and see who's behind you? I don't want to create a paranoia in terms that the person to your right or the person to your left may be on a criminal intent, but what should people do? Should you practice not being in dark places and unknown places? It's very obvious, but what are some of the subtleties of law enforcement preventive action?
And I think you touched on a lot of them. A lot of them are pretty simple steps. The lighting, I do that. The ring cameras are great.
Yes.
The just being aware of your surroundings. It's pretty concerning to see people drive down the road and they don't have a clue what's going on because they're focused on that phone, and they might be hands-free driving and might have it mounted on the dash, but they're not looking around to see what's going on around them. When you go into parking lots at night, just paying attention, just looking. You leave that department store, just look around before you go back to your car. So there's a lot of just fundamental things you can do. One of the big questions we get is, about gun ownership, firearms ownership, and I'm not an opponent of that. But I always encourage people, if you're going to go that route, there's a lot of good places in town that do training. At least go into it having been trained and versed on the laws in Tennessee, things like that. I'd even encourage people to get their permits because those can be honored in other states. You'd have to do research on what particular states honor what permits. But yeah, definitely follow the fundamentals, and if you want to go in that and feel like you need to carry, man, find you a good instructor. There's plenty of them in this town, and just go that route. So there's a lot of options out there, but the basic one you touched on is just situational awareness, just being aware of your surroundings all the time, and just pay attention to what's going on around you.
I sit on the Homeowners Association board, sit on several of them, but sit on the board at Cottages of Lake Forest, which is a 550 unit development in La Vergne. And I'm continually seeking that owners or occupants in that large community actually practice night lighting. And, even the episodes and incidents that can occur in a community of 2,000 people in La Vergne, Cottages of Lake Forest, can be rather challenging.
Yeah. And in some communities, they even go to expand. You can talk about this subject forever.
Sure.
You see some homeowners associations or communities are buying their own LPR cameras or buying their own camera systems. So it's limitless, the things you can do.
Well, we have them near the trash containers. So we see people illegally dumping trash, we know. We'll be right back on this wonderful morning conversation with two chiefs of police, two outstanding professionals, and most importantly, two extraordinarily important assets to the well-being of our community. We'll return in just a moment.
Hi, this is Chip Walters with Exit Realty Bob Lamb & Associates. You might know me as the voice of the Blue Raiders, but I want to be your trusted advisor in real estate. Whether you're buying or selling, it's time to choose Chip. Do you have a growing family and need to upsize? Are you an empty nester now and need to downsize? Are you thinking of selling your current home but just worried you can't find something else? Well, it's time to choose Chip. I'm looking to be your trusted advisor in real estate. I'm Chip Walters with Exit Realty Bob Lamb & Associates.
It's a critical time in education, and we need experience on the Rutherford County School Board. That's why we need to elect Butch Vaughn to the school board in Zone 6. He brings experience as a public educator from his years in the classroom and as a coach to being principal at Central and Blackman Middle and Oakland High Schools. Butch Vaughn has also been in private education as the former headmaster at PCA. Experience counts, especially now. That's why we need Butch Vaughn on the Rutherford County School Board. Paid for by Butch Vaughn for School Board. Pryor Manning, Treasurer.
Here at Bud's Tire, we make buying Michelin tires simpler. I'm Allison Mitchell with Bud's Tire Pros. We offer a straightforward approach to service, including nationwide warranties with every purchase. Stop in today to see our full lineup of Michelin and BF Goodrich tires. For whatever you drive, Michelin and BF Goodrich have a tire to fit any need. Bud's Tire Pros, hassle-free, guaranteed. We're located on East Main Street, exactly 3 miles from the town square, 1 mile past Rutherford Boulevard. Visit us online at budstirepros.tn.com.
I'm Rodney French from French's Shoes and Boots in Murfreesboro. I'd like to invite you over to our hometown store, 1837 South Church Street. French's Shoes and Boots have been serving Rutherford County with the best selection of work boots, western boots, and a great selection of shoes and accessories. Our bargain room is full of famous brand shoes and boots up to 90% off mall prices. Brands like Clark's, Merrill, Justin, and Ariel. Tons of shoes and tons of brands, all at super great prices.
French's Shoes and Boots.
1837 South Church Street in Murfreesboro.
Learn to make money 5 ways with rental real estate. Double your money with apartments. And get your map to financial freedom. And that map starts with a free workshop. Sign up now at lifestylesunlimited.com. Click on the Join Free Workshop tab and attend online or in person. That's lifestylesunlimited.com. Lifestylesunlimited.com. Again, that's lifestylesunlimited.com. Limited seating, unlimited potential.
This is the Roundtable from News Radio WGNS on FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna, and worldwide at WGNSradio.com.
Welcome back to the third and final segment of the WGNS Roundtable for Thursday morning. This is Bill Kraus, your happy host is the best way I can put it. Having a wonderful conversation, and I hope all of you out there are enjoying it as much as I am, because it builds and retains a true confidence and trust in the men and women that are committed, passionate, and dedicated to serve our community and protect and preserve. Two chiefs of police, no Indians, two chiefs, all chiefs and no Indians. Maybe that's not a politically correct comment to make. Sorry about that. But basically, we have Chief Bowen from Murfreesboro, and we have our newly appointed chief in La Vergne, Chief Moews, And Chief Mays, do you want to talk a little more about how people can protect and preserve themselves, not only in La Vergne, but in any community?
Yeah, I just to parlay off of what you said, the lighting is important in any neighborhood. The ring cameras, as Chief Bowen said, I know my home back in Milwaukee was covered 360 with ring cameras. So if you are going to invest in something like that, just make sure it's good quality, it's high definition, so that we can use that if ever you are a victim of a crime. But one of the biggest things that I see in our society all over the place now is the distraction of the cell phone.
Yes.
And how people are walking in areas that they're not familiar with, and they are just engrossed in their phone. They're looking down, they're not watching where they're walking, they're not aware of their surroundings. So I remember a day when I was a child where the phone only existed in the home. It was attached to the wall, and it had a rotary dial. So
we'll go way back, a party line. Yeah. You would call a party line. You shared the line with 2 or 3 other telephone users.
Yep. Now we have a computer in the palm of our hand that's more powerful than what we went to the moon with. So
yes,
I understand the attraction to it, but I would just encourage people when they're walking, when they're driving, be aware of your surroundings and be focused on what you're doing and what's around you.
How many people, for example, will go to a mall or go to a shopping center and not lock their cars? And they come back and either the car has been broken into, for example, weaponry that may be in a glove compartment and unlocked, or just the mere fact that somebody's identified who you are. Just locking a car, for example.
Right. We should be able to leave our homes unlocked or our cars unlocked. That nobody should be intruding upon our sanctity. But the reality is, people do take advantage of that, and so it is important for us to practice safety and security.
Should you buy a good dog?
I've got one.
Do you?
I've got a nice Rhodesian Ridgeback.
I had a dog once that was a watchdog, would watch anybody take anything. Good watchdog, and so forth. Literally, how about minor things that lead into major things? A neighbor-to-neighbor argument, neighbor-to-neighbor problem, etc., that can explode into some serious possibility. Domestic violence, of course, is certainly a key issue. Vandalism can be a key issue, etc. Are these, you certainly identify priorities from homicide and down a list of what would be a priority. Are you pleased at this point with response time, your general response time in case of a 911?
I
go first and I'll follow up. Yeah.
No problem. I'm happy with it in La Vergne. We have dedicated officers that responded at a moment's notice. And actually yesterday we had a call for lost children. A frantic mother called. Her children had wandered off. They normally don't do that, but the response from our department was amazing. We not only had our officers out there, our sergeants, the lieutenants responded. Even my deputy chief responded, and members of our detective bureau responded. And we found the children in a very short amount of time, and we're able to reunite them with an elated mother who was just very pleased with it. So
that goes what Chief Bowen said. It's that service level. It's not only the victim, it's the victim's extended family.
Correct. And so I'm happy with it.
Yeah. And of course, when you look at your emergency responses, I'm comfortable with those responses. Now, some of the other calls, some of the lower priority calls, if the officer has to drive through some of this state traffic, it does take a little bit longer to get there. So on the non-emergency side, it might take a little bit longer, but we're not going to push the envelope trying to get to something that we have time to respond to. And on the emergency, I know police and fire have pretty good response rates.
Yes.
With both those areas. So.
I used to, back the days when I was a city manager, and people would say, well, it takes so long for them to respond. I said our average public safety response is 3 to 4 minutes. And I calculated the amount of money it would take to increase the response time or decrease it from 3 to 2 minutes. And the amount of capital, the amount of employee, the amount of personnel, the amount of substations, and so forth, just to knock off 1 minute of response time. I said, you willing to pay that in significant increased tax? No, and so forth. Yeah. Most people don't realize, or maybe they do, I didn't realize, that La Vergne is a waterfront town.
Yes,
and in terms of Percy Priest as a waterfront town, what kind of law enforcement problems do you have there? The amount of people, unfortunately, that drown, especially during holidays when they've had too much alcohol and they're out on the lake. Of course, that would be fire and rescue as well. But what type of activity, being in a police department that's a waterfront town, has that been of interest?
I think most of our criminal activity that would be surrounding the lake happens after the hours of darkness, when people aren't there enjoying it and there aren't a strong presence of citizenry. We've had some issues there where people have drowned and things of that nature, so I think it's important for everybody to remember we're coming up on the wonderful summer season here in Middle Tennessee, and it's going to get hot, and people are going to want to enjoy the lake. So make sure that you're doing so responsibly and not partaking in the beverages too much if you're going to be out there on the lake. But by and large, it would be any time when it's closed and it's after hours, and we try to have our officers roll through there on regular occasions to make sure that people aren't up to no good.
Both cities are certainly with mutual aid with Tennessee Highway Patrol. Whenever there's a bad accident on I-24 and the freeway shut down, what kind of alternative plans do you have to handle the traffic that's coming on the surface streets as a result of the blockage of the interstate?
Yeah, you see that a lot in La Vergne.
Yeah, I deal with it daily. Just being on the very edge of La Vergne, bordering Smyrna, and coming in anytime 24 is shut down, Murfreesboro Road becomes the major pipeline.
Yes.
So I know that our city planners are looking at our infrastructure and trying to monitor that. We're always trying to evaluate where our stoplights are and things of that nature. We want our officers out there monitoring, but we don't want to contribute to the problem either. So we want to make sure that we're just monitoring the flow and not getting too involved.
Yeah. A lot of times you can wind up doing more damage than good. I know we had a pretty serious wreck. What was it, last week on I-24? And a lot of that you can put out some social media, saying, hey, this road's blocked, use these routes. And I think a lot of the apps on phones redirect people. And a lot of that you just have to let work out. We can send people out to observe. We have sometimes people go up the wrong way on the off ramp and stuff, and we'll look for stuff like that. But if we need to be involved with it, but a lot of the times you just have to let it. Just because of the sheer volume, you have to let a lot of that stuff work out.
Yeah, that I know that particular day they shut down between Joby Jackson and Exit 81, and unfortunately it was just right at that time of rush hour when everybody's trying to get to school in the mornings, and it didn't. Honestly, it didn't. I was surprised. I think it cleared up in about 90 minutes. They had that scene to where they could open up traffic flow again. But 4170 is kind of our alternate route. It's just, it can only hold so much. So
and it's just like anything. Just allow yourself time to travel in the morning. And if you run into a situation like that, you just don't let your emotions get you. Just patient and let it work out. It's challenging.
Exactly.
It's challenging.
Even the pothole patrol after the weather, and that has been a little annoying, to put it mildly. But it has to be done. I almost threw out a front end the other day on I-65. That hole was probably seemed like 10 feet deep when I hit it. As we begin to wrap up, if you had a special, both as our longtime chief, a longtime police officer in Murfreesboro, and a new arrival from the state of Wisconsin, if you had words to say to our population, our citizens, and it's reaffirming the mission and role of law enforcement, but what special things would you like the general public to be well aware of in your two communities?
Well, the first thing I'd like to say to the general public is thank you. Thank you for your support, for your care and concern, especially in our recent time of need. Everybody throughout Rutherford County has been extremely gracious and wonderful to me, welcoming me to the community, helpful to me, been a resource to me, so that we can provide the best service that we can to La Vergne, whether you live there, work there, play there,
or drive through.
Yeah, or driving through. But I would just like to say thank you. But would be remiss if I didn't say that if you do have a servant's heart, if you do want to make a difference in your community, if you want to become a member of a department that is still growing and has the opportunity to really do some special things in a special community, I would invite you to apply to the La Vergne Police Department. We have a good crew there. We're very close, and we're doing great things.
How is your son? When you first were appointed, your son was in an accident, as I recall.
Yes, 3 weeks in, he was in a serious motorcycle accident and was on life support for 9 days. But he has made a full recovery.
Great.
It's nothing short of a miracle, and through the power of prayer, his only restriction now is some slight weightlifting requirements, and he can't do anything rigorous for 2 years because he had broken one of the many injuries was he broke the bottom 3 vertebrae of his spine.
Wow.
So, but he is going to be re-enrolled in college in the fall, and yeah, we are lucky to have him and very blessed.
Absolutely.
Thank you for asking.
Chief Bowen, if you were to have a final policy, mission, and endeavor for the Murfreesboro Police Department that you wanted to share with our 150,000 people in Murfreesboro.
I may not be answering your question directly. I'm going to kind of follow up on your previous question. I think it's important that the city of Murfreesboro and Middle Tennessee know that, man, they've got a lot of police officers that love their community, that love the people in this community, and go out and really daily want to do the right thing and try to do the right thing. Do we get it wrong sometimes? Absolutely.
You're human beings.
But man, the love that they have for this community, I see it every day. And I'm proud of that, and I just hope the community knows that there's a great group of men and women out there serving, and the partnerships between agencies in Rutherford County, it's amazing. You don't see it everywhere, and I guess officially one more time, I think Laverne did a great job in hiring Chief Mays, and I look forward to working with him in the future and as a partner.
God bless the two of you and the men and women that work with you on your team, and may you have great safety, great health, and great future.
Yeah,
we'll be seeing you next week, folks. Have a wonderful, wonderful Washington's birthday. Still old-fashioned on the 22nd. Thank you.